But first tonight, one of this state's most appalling miscarriages of justice. Dawn Rowan is a pioneer in exposing and combating domestic violence, the kind of crusader all communities need. However, for the past 20 years, she's been fighting a bitter legal battle against both the state and federal governments over baseless allegations that shut down the shelters she established. Despite the courts finding Dawn to be the innocent victim, she's now about to be made homeless. And Graham Archer has the shocking details.
And 18 years also of living with the real terror of bankruptcy and losing everything I owned. But I thought that that would only be a possibility if I lost. I didn't think it would be a possibility if I won.
Because in the end, you won but you lost.
That's right.
My big fear is that cases like this have a chilling effect in the community. They send a message to people that you might be a victim of bad government behaviour, but don't take the government on, don't challenge them, just go away and shut up, because if you do try and challenge the government, they'll throw everything at you and they have no morality when they're doing it.
Tomorrow is D-Day for Dawn Rowan, the day Commonwealth and state governments move in to take her home.
Will that effectively mean?
That effectively means that I'll be homeless, and because I work from home when I'm able to work, it means that I don't have a place to work from as well.
Hello, Vicky, is it?
Yes.
I'm Dawn.
As we reported some months ago, during the 80s, Dawn and her colleagues were pioneers in the area of family violence, setting up the first shelters for women and children fleeing violence at home. It was controversial and at times dangerous work.
I just picked her up and dragged her across the road back to my place, and I told her I was going to give her the kicking of her life. But I had pre-planned that at work. I said to 3 or 4 blokes, I'm going to go home and I'm going to give it the biggest kicking of its life because I've had a guts for it.
Though independent, the shelters relied on funds from the state and federal welfare departments, which over time wanted to convert the shelters back into emergency housing for all comers. The women, led by Dawn, fought a brave battle, but became targets themselves of personal vilification.
And you were characterised as a troublemaker.
Oh, absolutely. An empire builder, the mouth from the south.
This culminated in a report commissioned by the then State Minister, Dr. John Cornwall, which, under parliamentary protection, unleashed an appalling barrage of unfounded accusations about how the shelters were operated, most particularly against Dawn and her Christie's Beach shelter. The list included allegations of financial mismanagement and much, much worse.
Sexual harassment of women in a women's shelter, physical and verbal violence of women in a women's shelter, and they're there, because of those issues. Inappropriate exploitative counselling, which was it was a shocking allegation to make.
Was any of it true?
Absolutely not one bit of it.
4 separate inquiries found the allegations to be baseless, but Dawn's only redress was to be through the courts. She embarked on a legal battle which lasted almost 20 years. In 2002, the trial judgment cleared her entirely and was scathing of those who defamed her.
The allegations were a shocking defamation.
It singled out Cornwall and the review chair, Judith Roberts, as being motivated by malice.
I find there is sufficient evidence that members of the review committee did not honestly believe what they were stating about the Christie's Beach shelter was correct. Those members were guilty of malice.
There were many alarming aspects to the case, including that all 5 government departments involved lost substantial portions of their files.
Some files were destroyed or lost after this action had commenced.
However, despite the strength of the judgment, both the state and federal governments, using taxpayers' funds, appealed. And after a 16-month wait for the results, the findings of malice against Roberts and other committee members were overturned. The consequences were devastating. Dawn became responsible for the legal costs of the Commonwealth Government throughout the 15-year case and the appeal. Dawn was innocent, but now faces ruin.
So, having been falsely accused of criminal conduct by a government minister and his staff,
Yes.
after being appallingly defamed,
Yes.
having to resign,
Yes.
move states,
Yep.
having seen documents and notes go missing,
Yep.
the court has now found that you have to pay the government's costs.
That's right. The Commonwealth Government's cost, because they've been let off by the full court.
And we'll never know what this has actually cost the taxpayer.
No, they're absolutely refusing to give the taxpayer any indication of what this has actually cost them.
No government is innocent in this, but the Rowan government in 2002 chose to fight her to the bitter end, even though they had no legal or moral grounds to do so. And the federal government have done the same. And due to a legal technicality, she must pay their entire costs, which means losing her remaining possession, her home.
She's been overwhelmingly vindicated by any number of inquiries and legal processes, and yet she's the one who continues to be the victim, and it really is not just.
According to Mark Parnell, Greens MLC, this case is a classic reminder that we have a legal system and not a justice system.
The answer to this case is very simple. The state government and the federal government need to back off. They don't have to exercise every last legal power that they have to extract money from Dawn.
It's easy to blame the system, but individuals make these decisions. Surely they should be made on moral grounds as much as legal grounds.
I think that's right, and I think that the real tragedy of this case is that the people who really were the guilty parties, you know, way back 2 decades ago, they're the ones who aren't suffering at all.
Our attempts and those of scores of others to have justice prevail have fallen on deaf ears, and the minister who has the ultimate say, who could call off the dogs, Mal Brough, is saying nothing.
Mal Brough has not responded to any of the thousands of approaches that have been made to him. He is the minister responsible for the funding of women's shelters.
So tomorrow, Dawn will walk into court for the last time and face the inevitable outcome of having her most precious possession, her home, taken from her.
So you're running out of options, aren't you?
Yes. Yep.
In fact, it would be fair to say that you've run out of options.
Yes. If they proceed to bankruptcy and leave me homeless and penniless at the age of 61 with no superannuation, I certainly don't have any options in terms of being able to survive.
And we spoke to Senator Mal Brough's office this afternoon, and they say they're now considering what we put to them about Dawn's case, but time is rapidly running out. We'll certainly keep you posted.